I rise today to present to you ACA 5, the California Act for Economic Prosperity and Opportunity for All. This measure seeks to allow California's effort to take meaningful steps to minimize inequality, prevent discrimination, and promote economic fairness. ACA 5 would allow California voters to restore the consideration of race and gender diversity in public contracting, public employment, and public education in order to create equal opportunity. Today, as we look around the world, and we see how there is an urgent cry for systemic change. The ongoing pandemic, as well as recent tragedies of police violence, is forcing Californians to acknowledge the deep-seated inequality and far-reaching institutional failures that show that your race and gender still matters. And it leaves people with dramatically different results depending on the combination of the two in your life. The virus in itself did not discriminate, and yet we see the disproportionality in terms of high infection, death rates among African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans, and Filipinos. We see record job loss concentrated in communities of color and the shattering of women and minority-owned businesses across the state. After 25 years of quantitative and qualitative data, we can see that race-neutral solutions cannot fix problems steeped in race. California's regressive ban on equal opportunity programs such as affirmative action denies women and people of color a level playing field in the workplace and in education. Proposition 209, passed in 1996, cements the glass ceiling for women in business and stifles efforts to get young women to pursue STEM majors. It has diverted over $1.1 billion of investment each year for women and Black and Brown-owned businesses, unraveling the years of growth and advancement for these entrepreneurs. The ban on race-conscious and gender-conscious remedies do not allow for us to deal with root causes of systemic failures, and it prevents us from designing effective policies and programs to correct our ongoing history of bias and exclusion. Currently, California is out of step with 42 other states, being only 1 in 8 states with this ban. For those who don't want to participate, do not have to take up the mantle and act toward racial and gender equality, the removal of 209 would not burden you because it is permissive and not prescriptive and does not mandate anything. But for leaders who want to help remedy gender bias and disparity, Proposition 209 has only served as an impediment to act on best practices aligned with the United States Constitution. ACA 5 would allow California voters to revisit and express their views after 25 years. Both the new generation who are calling for change and those who recall the devastating effects and unintended consequences before and after Prop 209 was in effect. ACA is a priority bill of the California Legislative Black Caucus, the Legislative Women's Caucus. It is endorsed by the Jewish Caucus and the LGBT Caucus and the Progressive Caucus. It is sponsored today by over 250 different organizations, small business owners, and individuals in support. Members, when the world watched in Minneapolis the symptoms of a much larger problem, and that was equally disturbed as the officer who had his knee on George Floyd's neck, was the officer as well as the officer who stood by and were complicit and allowed it to happen, even blocking standbyers from helping. Today, I ask this legislature, I hope that this legislature will no longer be complicit in the status quo, that we will not idly sit back and rest in with gender and racial inequality. And further, that at the very least, we would allow California voters to have their voices heard about the lack of opportunity, the unjust and unfair system, and whether or not they want to uphold Proposition 209. For these reasons, I respectfully ask for an aye vote on ACA 5.